One of the things you want to talk to people about, and this is very important, is that all of the Lamplighter books, every single one of these books, have been altered and edited in some way. One of the reasons for that is because some of the language in the earlier books would not be fit for children to read today because it would have an entirely different meaning. For example, in the Wide, Wide World, in one of the chapters, it talks about the old man took his horny hand and began to fondle the young girl. Today, that would not be acceptable speech in our literature. So we had to just alter that and talk about the old man was affectionate toward his niece by putting his hand on her head. He was just by patting her head. That's how we changed it. So it was just, we did something very innocent so that there was no semblance of impropriety whatsoever. And so in all of these books, a lot of these had a very some had an influence where salvation was good works. So we made sure that salvation is by faith and the redemption of Christ and is based on His shed blood. That's throughout all of these books. And if I could change a book I want the ending of the stories to always be to end with Scripture and biblical inspiration, biblical thoughts. So all of the books have been edited and adapted in that way. So and then there's some offensive language and offensive actions. So we took all the smoking and drinking alcohol out of the books, unless it was essential for the character trait of a certain individual that you were showing him and you were contrasting evil and good. But when it wasn't necessary, there was no reason to have it in there. If they're just, a mom and dad are sitting down at the table and they're drinking, they're having their bourbon for the evening drink. It's like, that was unnecessary, so I took that out. Because I didn't want to give children that idea that those things were good to do. Back then, they usually smoked cigars and cigarettes and pipes. There was no reason to have that in there. Unless, like, for example, in The White Gypsy, we have it in there because the father is very sick. He's got asthma. And back then, they used smoking cars to cure asthma, which they found out later that people were dying as a result of it, so we kept that in the book. So one of the things that you need to really convey to your customers is that if it's a Lamplighter story and you find the same title out in Amazon or anywhere else, you can be guaranteed that the story is not going to have the same safe biblical insights, nor will it be as mysterious, dramatic, and adventurous as a Lamplighter book, because we put a lot of time and effort into editing and adapting and making these books. One of the reasons is that, I didn't enjoy reading when I was a kid. I hated to read. And I have vowed that when a child reads these stories, I want them to be on the edge of their seat and say, another chapter, please. So that's why we take such an extraordinary amount of time, revising these stories.